Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like.
Not to be a backseat driver, but can you say for sure you got the best monthly payment possible on your auto loan? Could it be that you might have gotten a better deal by shopping the loan at a few places and have a lower car payment? Next time, before you go car shopping, visit Communication Federal Credit Union first. Our auto loan experts will find you a perfect loan and get you the lowest monthly payment we can. Communication Federal, your auto loan experts. Restrictions apply. Federally insured by NCUA.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Helps if I move the slider the right way. Welcome into the Weekend News Roundup. It is your Friday edition to get you ready for everything you need to know before you head off for the weekend. I am Rick Robinson, joined by some of the normal crew and cohorts down here. We have first, starting with Sean Lewis from SHR Media. It's been a minute since you've been with us, sir. Also contributing to theloftusparty.com as of late. We also have below me, Mr. Brad Slager. And how you doing, Brad? How you doing? How's things?
A little bit dizzy today. I've been trying to play catch up with the week's worth of news, and then today just blew up. So I'm kind of giving up entirely being caught up on things. I got to do a second podcast after this one. So.
Yeah, we got like a month's worth of news in like 5 hours. I was like, holy crap. Anyway, since I didn't ask you yet, Sean, how are things? How's you? I know you're brain fried from writing an article. So
yeah, no, I'm about the same. You know, here it is, January 64th, and it has just been a fire hose of media, seemingly, over the last couple of weeks. So it's rather incredible.
Yeah, too bad they aren't using these fire hoses in Minneapolis. Oh wait, sorry, my bad. That's not appropriate to be said, apparently. And last but not least, from Town Hall and formerly with Twitchy, which is where I know her from, Miss Amy Curtis. Ma'am, how are you? How's things?
They are great from the frozen tundra of Wisconsin. Like I said, yeah, it's what you were talking about gas stage. It feels like January 84th. It's been today especially has been just crazy busy news wise. I'm glad it's the weekend, and then of course this weekend is going to be insane too. So no rest for the weary.
Well, you know, we knew what we signed up for when we got into the media business. At least that's what everybody tells me now that this is what I do full time. They're like, you can't whine. You wanted to do this. I'm like, but it was so much easier when Joe Biden was in charge. I was done by noon.
Because everybody was done by noon. Biden was done by 11 a.m.
You kept your president's hours.
Yeah.
If he ever got started. So.
All right. So how is everybody? So everybody's done the how are we things. As far as me, it's been a crazy day. Like I said, I was coming back into the room with coffee and just about spit it out through my nose when the announcement came in about 7:30, 6:30ish my time, I think, when the news broke that Don Lemon had been arrested. And my dog looked at me like I was
Yep.
retarded, and then a friend of mine said, "Well, the dog wasn't necessarily wrong." And I'm like, "Fuck you, you bastard."
Yeah, I was gonna say let's not down the dog there. He seemed pretty accurate.
Really? Ain't nobody asking you, sir. Ain't nobody asking you. I see how this is. I see how this.
No, yeah, it was about 6:30. 6:30 because my son, who's been home all week with an ear infection, woke up and said, "Mom, they arrested Don Lemon," and he looked like his second Christmas had come. And it was the right move. Genuinely surprised that they did actually arrest him, though. Not going to lie on that one. Especially after the judge had refused to sign the arrest warrant last week. I figured they were going to say he was a journalist. He was there in the capacity of a journalist. Case closed. But we all know that wasn't the case. So we will see where it goes. My understanding is he's still in custody waiting for a hearing sometime this afternoon.
I mean, damn, even roosters throw me under the bus in the chat. Dogs have ways of figuring things out. I see where my friends are. I see where my friends are. But no, I mean, well, back to this. And I've been saying this now for going on 2 weeks because Gene and I did an entire show on this when Ross was off doing other stuff. He had me sit in for Ross. And everybody in the chat was like, I can't believe they haven't done anything yet. It's on video, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, you guys don't understand how this works. The cops didn't witness any of this. There's an entire chain of custody thing they have to go through to verify the evidence, make sure it's accurate, make sure that the metadata and everything matches up. And then, so the next step was when everybody got mad because old boy got arrested and Don Lemon didn't. They're like, this is a miscarriage of justice and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, dude, this doesn't change anything. They're going to go to the next level of the judge, and then they're going to go to the next level of that judge. And then if that doesn't work, they're going to go to the grand jury. And that's exactly what they did. They went to the judge. The judge said no. They went above the judge's head. That judge said no. They went above that judge's head. That judge said no. So they said, fine, let's convene a grand jury. And now they got their warrant, which is exactly what I knew would happen. Now, whether he officially winds up, being found guilty of anything, or whether they wind up letting him off, that's going to be a completely different thing. But just saying, because I have no faith in this part of it. I am just glad that the whole crowd of, oh my God, nobody's been doing anything. Now they got like 3 million pages of Epstein files to comb through. That should be fun. That should be fun.
Well, I'm waiting for the dropping of the Epstein files is just distracting away from the Minnesota riots. It's always been just their narrative. Whatever news breaks is distracting from something else. So it's like they just dropped 6 million documents to appease you people. Oh, you're just protecting ICE shootings.
Yeah, we want the documents. We want the documents. No, don't give us the documents. You're just distracting us. Pick a lane, guys. Pick a lane.
Well, we saw this with CBS and 60 Minutes when they bitched all month about Barry Weiss censoring a segment out of the show when she just wanted more information. Then she actually let it run on the 18th. And then they complained because, well, she picked that date because there was a football game at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh, for crying out loud.
I mean, she did exactly what you were screeching about. And now here you are screeching about it. This is all they have anymore is reframing every news story.
And it's never, no matter what you do, it is never good enough for them. There's a lesson to be learned here. Will they learn it? Probably not. But there is a lesson to be learned.
This is all, everything you need to know about that whole 60 Minutes slap is this. All they've done from the first time it broke to today is bitch about what Barry Weiss did with the segment. Nobody's talking about the actual segment and the contents of it. Like nobody's praised the reporting. Oh, this is such a trenchant story that's changing. It's just what Barry Weiss did to it. It's like, okay, but is it a good story? I mean, if it was this important, you would think they would have had better ratings, but apparently not. Well, she killed it. And she. It's like, segment. What about it? Nobody wants to talk about it.
Well, and like you brought up, they released 3.5 million documents of the Epstein file today, right? And the same day that they arrested Don Lemon. I mean, I don't know which one they're trying to hide and which one they're not trying to hide. But clearly it's just two things can happen at the same time. It tells you how multitasking is not an option for certain people. Like, yeah, media happens 24/7. Things happen 24/7. Arrests happen, court documents happen, homicides happen, church invasions happen. All of these things happen. And believe it or not, there's more than 5 people doing things at the DOJ. And they can do more than one thing at one time. It's incredible to me.
That's what I love is when they're saying right now, why are they spending their time going after Don Lemon when they've got this shooting to investigate? It's like, well, there's more than 6 people at the FBI.
Yeah, and it's not even the same agency or it's not even the same unit that does it. It's an entirely different unit.
We have like tens of thousands of cops in the federal government to look into things. I think we could portion out the energy here.
Like you said, there's no right answer, though. I mean, there's just no right answer. And what's incredible to me, and I'm already seeing it today, is with the Don Lemon thing, they go right for the emotional reaction. They don't want to talk about the logic behind it. They don't want to talk about, I made a reference of what if this was 1950s and Don Lemon was a white guy that worked for NBC and they invaded a black church because one of the pastors allegedly was involved in a prosecution of a KKK member and they brought KKK members with them. Would the Democrats still be defending this sort of action? And the answer is in that time, yes, the Democrats would have absolutely defended it because many were part of it.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
They're the same, right? And they're doing the same thing now. And I even said if Don Lemon waited outside and interviewed after the fact and did not go in with the church, I would have a lot more of the whole as a press. I mean, we're all members of the media and the press, right? I can understand that more, but he actively involved himself, and he was there as the setup for it, the tactical advice that he or whatever they called it, tactical planning. I think he called it in the video. He rode with them. He kissed the organizer on the cheek, which is what all media, that's what all journalists do when they get their sources. They give them a kiss as soon as they show up and thank them for calling them. He brought him coffee. And he followed them into the church. And then halfway through the protest, jammed his microphone into the pastor's face and asked him why, what he thought of all this. And the pastor was unbelievably nice. I wouldn't have been. I'd have been like, well, I think you're an asshole. Like, who does this?
Right.
And now they're mad. They're mad because he's being charged with, and I haven't read that they just released apparently the charging documents. But I think he's being released with 2 charges. There could have been like 7 or 8 that he could have absolutely been charged with, and they only hit him with 2. If you go through all the different 18 USCs, especially when it comes to church and people engaging in their civil rights and freedoms, there's a bunch of stuff he could have been nailed for. So there's going to be no right answer. And if this was the other way around, they would be screaming for conservative protesters to be drawn and quartered in the middle of the town square.
Well, they'd also
Absolutely.
be
We don't even
screaming
have
that
to
he-
go back to the
that he
civil
has
rights
been-
area.
that there- I was going to say they'd also be screaming that there weren't enough charges levied either. So there's that. Throw all the books at him.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Exactly. No, we don't even have to go back to the civil rights movement. We just have to go back to a couple of weeks ago when Nick Shirley was going to these daycares, these fraudulent Somali daycares. That was white supremacy. Imagine if Shirley had led a group of protesters into a Somali mosque in Minneapolis, demanding answers for this fraud. They would have lost their mind. At the indictment right now, count 1 is conspiracy against right of religious freedom at place of worship. Let me see if that's the first. That's the only.
We lost Amy for a second there. I know she's traveling right now, so
She's
did he
snow
just say the guy-
adrift.
So
No adrift. It's hard when you're in the Great White North.
Well, I can.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got stuff I'm going to do with
yeah,
this. I'll probably be talking about it over at Town Hall, going at length. But for instance, today, Amnesty International has come out. Arrest of a journalist performing their duties. Amnesty International had nothing to say a couple of years ago when Joe Biden arrested Steve Baker of The Blaze. And he
Mhm.
did exactly
Well,
the same thing.
They don't
Went
consider
into
white people.
a public place and recorded people that were protesting inside of said place. He arrested the guy for
And that was
misdemeanors, by the way.
That was a government building. That wasn't even a church. That was a government building, which, as we all know, when you're protesting, you're completely allowed to protest the government as much as you want, right? So that was a totally different set of circumstances. There's specific language saying that churches are protected from such stuff because it's private property.
Right. And this is how targeted
Exactly
Joe
right.
Biden was
Which
about
makes
all of this, because the evidence they have on Baker is he's inside the rotunda recording. I mean, you see him on other people's cameras standing against the wall, basically. They arrested him for that.
Mhm.
At the same time, however, at the New
Mhm.
Yorker, Luke Mogelson he basically embedded in the crowd that day. He was videotaping shoulder to shoulder with protesters as they climbed through the window, initially breaching the Capitol. No charge for him, however. Well, because he writes over at the New Yorker, which was sympathetic to the Biden administration, where Steve Baker was rather critical in his reporting. I see a difference here. One guy's recording placidly, the other one's actively breaking in and followed people all the way to the Senate chambers. No charges for Mogelson, however.
Well, and also they framed for Steve Baker as like an independent journalist, and they never ever talked about the fact that he was a part of the Blaze Network, which is just, it's how they framed it and how they needed to frame it in
Right.
order to make it work. And look, I mean, talk about January 6th all the time. January 6th it was not a great day. Like how it turned out was not the best thing that's ever happened on the planet. But if they're going to sit there and prosecute people, then let's keep the standard the same.
Well, it's just a look at their actions and the explanation. Well, he's a reporter. That's all he was doing. Well, that's all Steve Baker was doing.
Yeah.
And look what you did. So sorry, your rules. But also, if you read the actual language of the FACE Act, it pretty much describes exactly what they did. I mean, it was their behavior that day specifically. And they want to ignore all of that. So it's like, he's a journalist. What? He's allowed to break the law then? He's a journalist? I don't think it works that way.
Well, and I've already seen the whole, well, that's not what the FACE Act was for, is to protect abortion clinics. And I'm like, then why do they add specific language for places of worship? Right? Which is very much in there.
I could tell you why, because they were kind of leaning towards white supremacists going at black churches. But the actual language, this is what it is. Part 2 of the FACE Act is intentionally injuring, intimidating, or interfering with any person by force, threat of force, or physical obstruction exercising or seeking to exercise a First Amendment right of religious freedom at a place of worship.
Yep.
Perfectly describes what they did that day.
Yep.
I mean,
or not, and it's not a 3-part prong to that law. It is an or for a reason. Any one of those 3 elements need to be met.
Well, hang on. I need to answer somebody. Bubba, I needed a toothpick and I was desperate. What can I say?
So the aspect of that too that gets ignored is, and I have seen that argument of, well, that's not what that was meant for. It's meant to protect abortion clinics. Well, first of all, Clinton signed it in 94. So you had a Democrat that signed it into place, right? But I could also argue that the separation of church and state that everybody loves to talk about was only about bus fare. So as long as we're not talking about bus fare, then the two shouldn't relate, right? I mean, at the end of the day, that's the reality behind it.
It's just the double standard is real.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, just a couple of years ago,
Oh, it absolutely is real.
just a couple of years ago, they were all, everybody with a gray check mark and a D behind their name was nobody's above the law. Now today they're like, but Don Lemon should be above the law. I don't
Journalists
understand.
are above the law. Journalists we like are above the law. Let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay now? Okay, awesome.
Yeah, we got you. Now.
Awesome. No, I'm glad you.
Yeah, you're better.
I'm glad you brought up the Faces Act. Awesome. Because I read all the kind of dove deeper. They blocked parents from going downstairs to the daycare and getting their children. They were screaming in the faces of children while these children cried. Had that been me and my church and they got between me and my kids, things would have gotten very ugly very quickly. Because that's my red line in this. Like, my red line is, you do not mess with my kids. You do not threaten my kids. Woe to anybody who does. So this was not some peaceful, we'll sit there and ask questions. This was a mob meant to scare and intimidate, and it falls perfectly under that FACE Act. It really does.
Well, if you followed Don Lemon on that Sunday, it was hilarious, because when it first started coming out and he was putting out the videos, you know, I'm watching it, and then I'm watching him change his tack, because he was all involved in it, and afterwards even he was cheerleading. This is what protesting's all about. We're supposed to make people uncomfortable, and he was all giddy and
Traumatic is the word he used.
yeah, beaming about what they accomplished. And then people online started saying, that's a FACE Act violation, Don. And all of a sudden it was, hey, I was a reporter. I just saw stuff happen. It wasn't me. And completely did a 360. And then the next day, well, we went into the church because they're a bunch of white supremacists.
Yep.
There's some journalism for you, huh?
Had to change it up. And there's also been cases of journalists, that have absolutely been prosecuted, like you said before, and the Supreme Court's been pretty clear that it's not a get out of jail free card. You don't get to do what you want to do because you say you're a journalist or a pundit. And in Minnesota alone, which I think is absolutely hysterical, there was a journalist and I'm looking it up because I actually put it in my article today. I can't remember her name. In Minnesota, there was a pipeline protest where she was inside the trespassing line. They were inside the property they weren't supposed to be on, doing the protest. She was arrested for trespassing and sentenced in Minnesota for just showing up, crossing the line into private property and videotaping. I'm like, that's not even nearly as bad as what Don Lemon did. And this happened in Minnesota, where the Don Lemon case transpired as well.
Right. I hadn't even heard about that case, but there you go. There's precedent right there.
Well, what we're seeing taking place is this recalibration across the country, that when people are taking up these, ardent activist positions that are clearly illegal, they try to reclassify them as protest, and then it gets molded into a First Amendment violation. So actual illegality is what they're trying to legitimize. So if you're out in the middle of a roadway and blocking an interstate, that's just a protest. That's all it is. We're not violating. And then firebombing Tesla dealerships, that was a First Amendment right. And now attacking agents and doing other things have all been, it's just protests. They're arresting protesters. Look, no, they're arresting people engaged in criminal activity. You're not standing on a sidewalk with a sign. You're actually violating the law. There's a difference.
And there's a limitation to protesting too. People, look, I put it in my article today on SHR Media. Both CARE and the ACLU on their website for protesting says very specifically there is a limitation to protesting, and there's a whole bunch of different rules you have to consider. So to say that protest is just I get to do what I want when I want, which the founders absolutely wrote about that, and there's limitations, but protesting itself and the right to peaceful assembly was to protest the government. It had nothing to do with trying to free people who were in the country illegally and fight against the congressionally approved agency to enforce the congressionally approved laws. Like, there's a gigantic difference between the two.
You said peaceful assembly. That's just uncomfortable and inconvenient.
How dare I?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What? How dare you quote the whole, part of the
founders and all the other stuff. Yeah, no, and it's funny because everyone who pushes back against that, they want to have the emotional argument, but they don't want to have the legal and logical argument, which is entirely different.
Yes, because they'll lose the legal and logical argument.
Exactly.
Hey, Jason, can you cite for me specifically where and how you're saying ICE has no authority to march down the street throwing flashbangs and tear gas?
No, they can't.
I'm just asking.
But they've also been told that ICE is not, and this is from politicians, that ICE is not an actual law enforcement agency. They've also been told that ICE can't do this and and all of that is bullshit. And this is the problem with the politicians and the media on a lot of level is they lie and emotionally corrupt these people. They lie about what can be done and not be done. And then when things go tits up, as they absolutely will, then they act like they can't even understand why this is going on.
Right. Then they pretend, oh, look at how they're overreaching their authority. Look at the damage they're causing and the chaos they're causing. ICE is having problems in exactly one city right now. That's Minneapolis.
Only one.
They are conducting. I mean,
Yeah.
they are having. I mean, there have been dust ups in LA. There have been dust ups other places, but where there has been a lot of problems is Minneapolis. It's not a coincidence that it's happening there, where the mayor and the governor have both said, we're at war with the government. Get the fuck out of my city. ICE is the Gestapo. Connect the dots. It's not that hard. There's a reason why there's problems in Minneapolis and nowhere else. And it goes directly back to the rhetoric of the political leaders telling their people things like ICE has no authority to do anything. That's not true.
Well, I just love the elitism of it all, because we saw Tim Walz encouraging people, get out in the street, go fight them, get in the first line of things, while he's safely behind his security fence.
Right?
And he's protesting against us putting up walls while he's safely ensconced behind a safety gate. And we saw that one idiot at a red carpet event, the actor Giancarlo Esposito. They were interviewing about this. People need to get out there and sacrifice themselves for us so we can survive.
Yeah, he's like 50,000 people could get killed.
Some of you may.
Well, the rest of us will live. Excuse me.
Some of you may
exactly,
die.
The Lord Farquaad.
World for your sacrifice. Yeah, I love that part. But I do like the fact that
that is a sacrifice.
Yes, you dying in the street is something I'm willing to support.
I do like the fact that the washed up guy from Revolution keeps using the word that we need a revolution.
Yeah. Well, and it's amazing because they have yet to realize that these politicians don't give a shit about illegals. They don't give a shit about the protesters. They want redistricting and they want to fundraise off the incidents that come out of this. Those are the two things they only care about. That's all they give a shit about.
Yeah, they care about these two shooting deaths, but they don't give a damn about the dozens of people who've died at the hands of illegal immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Nope.
So that's the other thing. But the other thing is now we're starting to see all these receipts. Like now they're tying a lot of this funding to a group that is tied directly to the CCP for all these fancy signs and everything that everybody's waving. They've got U-Haul trucks pulling up with printed fancy signs and the vests and the masks and all this stuff. And it turns out it's a disenfranchised American billionaire with ties to China that is apparently funding a lot of this stuff and is part of the Party for Socialist Liberation, I think is what it's called.
Well, wait, you said China, right? Thank God it's not Russia. That would have been problematic.
Right. That would have been a little weird.
It is very, very bizarre to see what they will support and what they will not support. And again, they don't care as long as somebody, I said before, for the group that loves to throw out the N-word all the time against conservatives and relate us to Hitler and Nazis and all this other stuff, they have absolutely no issue whatsoever with using brown shirt tactics to get their ways.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you notice this week, too, everybody suddenly is big on the term bootlicker. Like,
oh, yeah.
Like just from Monday on, it's all of a sudden the catchphrase.
Yeah, that's their new catchphrase. I'm sure it got sent out by Maggie Hagerman. You know,
nothing untoward. That's totally organic. Everybody.
Oh, it absolutely did.
Yeah, no, everyone just found it at the same time. And look, it's really funny that when you support the Constitution, you read the founders' writings, and you understand case law and everything else, and you support the rule of law, you're suddenly a bootlicker. But all of these people wore a mask, and they would scream at you if you dared go outside without a mask during COVID. It's just incredible.
Let's not forget the same people that are screaming about Gestapo tactics didn't seem to have a problem with Governor Walz marching police down the streets and forcing people back inside with pepper balls.
Yep.
You know, during all this crap. So, you know, I'm just saying. And then you've got Governor Newsom, who was arresting people for being out on a beach during COVID, on a beach,
Right.
open air.
The same people
Right.
that filled skateboard pools with sand and locked off basketball nets.
My favorite is when they had the Coast Guard out arresting a guy on a wakeboard about 300 yards offshore by himself, and he was causing a threat to. He could have spread it to stingrays or something. I guess I don't know.
But yeah, none of that matters now. None of that matters now. Yeah, the poor dolphins. We didn't think about the dolphins.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
about to say,
somebody
Brad,
think
you're not
about the
thinking
dolphins.
It's a seaborne virus, and he didn't take that into consideration.
Legion.
Right. The hypocrisy, astounding.
Well, and it comes down to, and I've said this before, we're on the side of the Constitution of the founders, especially when it comes to the immigration aspect. It's very, very clear on that, and they're siding with the insurgency from the illegals, and they would rather have this country completely undone and essentially devour all of everything that this country's built to change it into something that they want. And when you look at that, one of us is trying to maintain the country and one side's trying to destroy it.
Of course.
Yeah, I like
been their
when Jesse
goal for
Ventura
the
came
longest
out
time.
yesterday and said Minnesota should just be co-opted into Canada, and I was like, "Yeah, good idea."
Yeah, we'll trade that for Alberta.
I was going to say, can we have Alberta and they take Minnesota? I'm cool with that.
I'll take Berta straight up. Berta beef, baby.
Win for us, honestly.
I mean, it would definitely. I mean, come on. I mean, I saw the other day. I guess the folks in Denmark, 200,000 of them have signed a petition to annex California. I'm like, dude, I would give it to you for a McDonald's cheeseburger.
Yeah, it's like
Even that much?
How about a year's supply of Danish, and we'll call it even.
There you go. Win-win.
I mean, sorry,
all
Sean,
around.
You might be a Danish citizen soon, sir.
No, I'll just have to leave. That's all. No worries about that.
I don't know why your crazy ass is still living there anyway. Yes, I know you're there for your kids. You don't have to tell me, but still.
That is what it is.
Right.
So I think we
You do what you got to do. I still.
I see what
Yes,
you
we
there.
did. If I had a rim shot, I would do a rim shot. I see what you did. Yep.
Thank you.
There we go.
I had one. I just didn't.
I
hear
knew
it.
we had
Once
one of
I heard
those.
Somebody saying rim shot. I just figured I'd hit the button. I couldn't hear what he said. So.
Yep.
Don't know if you
Oh,
can
you
use that
squeezed
term
the
with
juice
Don
out of that
Lemon,
story.
however, though. That's might be.
Hey, who was that? Jason, California is the fourth largest paper tiger because they're not really an economy anymore, bro. Sorry to say. Oh, all right.
Exactly.
Where else we want to go? I think we have sufficiently.
Well, we have. Yes, we have lemon to lemon. We do have to talk about Catherine O'Hara, the actress, Schitt's Creek, Home Alone, a bunch of mockumentaries, A Mighty Wind, Waiting for Guffman, Best in Show. She died, and there have been very few celebrity deaths that have gotten to me. That one got to me. According to The Guardian, it was after a brief illness. She was only 71. Last public appearance was in September at some Apple TV event because she was on an Apple TV show called, I want to say it's called The Situation, but because I'm traveling and on my phone, I can't look it up at the moment. And she looked very thin. Guessing something was going on health wise that but she was just incredible. One of the funniest women to ever exist. And I will miss her. I think she still had a lot to give, a lot of jokes to tell, and it's a loss because the legends are all leaving us, sadly.
Yeah, I think they're trying to send us a signal. It's time to get out.
I don't know if it's, but No, it is sad. She was great on what was it, SCTV, right back in the day.
Yep.
Talented
One of the
comedic, just seemingly a great person as well. And I don't get wrapped up in too many Hollywood figures that pass. I just don't ever have an attachment like that. I never have to actors and actresses, but she definitely seemed like a pretty good person, but she was absolutely hysterical as an actress. So it's sad, and hopefully, I just hope she didn't suffer. I mean, when like you said, she
right.
pointed out that she was very, very thin recently in her last real appearance, and we heard nothing. So I just hope whatever she battled, she didn't suffer.
That's same. That's where I come down, and that it was quick and painless, and like I said, she will be missed by tons of fans, including me. I will pull out a mighty wind.
They were just fantastic, because that was like the Toronto adjunct to Second City out of Chicago. And they just hit upon something where they just had this group of comedians that said, we're going to put out a show and syndicate it. And I remember coming across it on local television, like Saturday nights in the 70s. And was like, what is this? And we just started watching it. It was damn good television. Almost every single person from that troupe has gone on to lengthy Hollywood careers, because they were all, John Candy and everybody else.
Yeah, Eugene Levy.
Decades they were doing this.
Yep. Yeah.
You got Rick Moranis, Dave Thomas, and just to a person, they had. You rarely see that from an ensemble where almost every single person has a career out of it because they're that good, and they were. And she lived up to it.
Yes, she did.
Yeah, I absolutely loved her in Schitt's Creek. I actually found
did.
I actually found that towards the end of its run, and I wound up watching.
That was a great show.
And I was like, I didn't think I was gonna like it at first. Then I said, I was like, yeah, this is just absolutely hilarious. So.
And just how many gifts do we have from that one person?
Yeah, I started. Yep. Oh, countless gifts and memes and quotable lines. I haven't finished. I haven't finished Schitt's Creek yet, but I need to. But yeah, one of the funniest shows out there.
Oh, so it's just, yeah. As far as celebrity deaths that hit hard for me, the one that's the most recent one that hit me really hard was Hulk Hogan. I grew up absolutely loving Hulk Hogan, and I know I'm going to be made fun of in the chat.
Yeah, that one was a shocker too. Yeah, that was like that was like our childhood. Like that was Hulkamania and everything.
But
yeah, that one was
that one stung.
Going back now, the one that really hit me is 10 years ago now, was Alan Rickman. That was just 10 years ago this month, and it doesn't seem like it's been 10 years. It seems like we've lived 8 million lifetimes since then.
I was going to say, it both seems like it was like 1,000 years ago and 5 minutes ago at the same time. I'm like, it doesn't seem like it's been that long. At the same time, it feels like it's been forever. But yeah, he was another one, which Rickman's kind of a hero of mine, because he found what everybody started considering his calling much later in life. And that was kind of cool. But I don't know.
Yeah,
for me, it
was
was Jimmy
his first
Buffett.
major feature film. Oh, Jimmy Buffett was a legend too.
Being in Florida, it was just kind of imbued in our bloodstream for the most part. So when he passed away, it was like, holy damn, I felt that one.
Breaking news:
Yeah.
Brad Slager's a parrot head.
Guilty.
Not that I'm throwing shade or nothing, because he had some good music. But
shut up, or I'll throw a tiki mug at your head.
But one of the things I absolutely loved about him, especially as he got older, was his ability to make fun of himself. Like, he did a whole thing on Blue Bloods for like an entire episode, playing himself and the guy that was impersonating himself.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
that was such a great show too.
That's
but his best cameo though will always be in the Jurassic World movie, where he's running away from the pterodactyls or whatever the winged ones were, and as he's doing it, he grabs the margaritas and takes a sip of the margarita. Like, that is boss level stuff. The man has his priorities in order.
I didn't even know that was in there. We were in the theater watching it, and I saw the scene, and I did the Leo DiCaprio move.
Yes.
I knew that was him instantly, and I was like, that was Buffett. That was that. And they were like, come on, shut up, stop it. I didn't even see. What are you talking about? He's like, 2 margaritas. He 2-fisted away from the. Yeah, it was that obvious.
That was awesome.
See, I didn't catch it until much later when it started that people started sharing that clip online. But then I was like, yep, what a legend. In fairness, I only saw that movie once because after the first one, the Jurassic Park movies were not that good. So
Yeah, we had to go home, and then when it was out on tape, I said, all right, now watch the crane shot when it comes down Main Street. And sure enough, you see a Margaritaville restaurant over on the right. And I was like, there you go. See? Right.
That is
Synergy.
Buffett was. So what do you guys think about Klobuchar running?
Oh, please.
I'm
That
not
tells me-
surprised. I'm not surprised.
I
She's, I, why? Tell me why you're surprised, because I'm not.
Because she was about to be probably there's good chance that Chuck's gone soon, and she was
Mhm.
probably in line to lead the Senate. And I know she has aspirations for a higher office, but it's really kind of shocking to see her potentially give up that much power in the Senate to go as governor. If anything, it says to me that they were so jacked for a candidate and afraid to lose that she just had to kind of belly up to the bar and handle it and give them a shot, because reality is they may not want a potential Republican or an independent to get into that seat and be able to have kind of the keys to the castle as to what may have been going on. So
Oh,
I
that
think,
they definitely don't want to happen.
yeah, I
I
definitely
didn't say
think that
keys
they
to the
kind of-
castle so much as keys to the crypt. They don't want all the secrets to be exposed, is what it is, though.
Mhm.
So she's probably going to be doing this as a act of protection racket, if anything.
Well, yeah,
and
oh, go ahead.
No, you go, Amy. Go ahead.
Well, and it doesn't affect the seat in the Senate. 'Cause I saw some people say, why would they want to give up a seat in the Senate? My understanding is if she wins the governorship, she can just appoint somebody to fill out her seat, or she can resign from the Senate now, and Tim Walz could appoint somebody to, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the way I understand it. Tim Walz could appoint somebody to fill her seat right now. So
Yep.
they're not really giving up anything. And if they pick the right person, they could still hold on to that power. It may not be Klobuchar doing it in person, but she could certainly be pulling the strings from St. Paul.
And I've already seen if she
I-
gets in, there's speculation. Everything's speculation. Obviously, it's just where we are right now. That she would appoint Waltz to her seat, and it would be kind of a straight change up. So, I mean, all speculative, clearly, but all stuff that are possibilities.
Yeah, I've heard that other places too, so it
Well-
wouldn't surprise me if that was the plan.
It wouldn't surprise me, and it would align with him saying he's never going to run for office again. Emphasis on run. But I think that there's for the Democrats, their diehard supporters, there's no line that they can't cross that they won't support. But I think for the rest of us who have looked at what Tim Walz did in Minnesota, who soundly rejected him as vice president, pulling something that shady would be incredibly ballsy and damaging. And the Senate, if I was in the Senate, I would immediately open up hearings into Walz and work to remove him from the Senate because he's corrupt. He had his hands in that. His hands are all over that fraud. I don't care what anybody says. That's why he dropped. I mean, he said the other day, "Oh, it's imaginary. It's all made up." You don't drop out of the governor's race because you've been accused of something that's imaginary. You drop out of the governor's race because whatever you're accused of, you don't want to get caught.
Yeah, and you also don't drop out of the governor's
And-
race when you're winning.
When you're that too. That too.
And I don't want to come off sounding like
and I
I'm
don't know
pure
enough about-
genius on the matter, but just a couple weeks ago, it was over at Town Hall. I mean, Red State. I was tying in how the fraud that's been exposed in Minnesota now starts to make the amount of influence Minnesota has in the DNC so much more. Why did they choose Tim Walz? And they thought it was maybe to secure some votes. Now,
Mhm.
the fact that he's so embedded with this fraud scandal,
Yeah,
the
with
money.
that slush fund. Was that 9
And
billion?
just look at how many
Oh,
Minnesotans
absolutely.
are part of this. We're talking Keith Ellison,
Right.
who should have been kicked out entirely because of the sex aggression, I guess you can call it, during Me Too. No, they shunted him back to the state, and now he's shielding all of that. You've got Ilhan Omar with her fraud now becoming more and more exposed. But just look too, who's the head of the DNC right now? Ken Martin out of Minnesota. Who was before him? Jamie Harrison out of Minnesota. I mean, this state has never been politically significant. And yet in the last 10 years, somehow every single person coming out of the state has a prominent role in the party where possibly tens of billions of dollars of fraud have been floating around. Huh.
Right.
Funny how
Right.
that
And I
happened.
think I said
All
it.
right, so
Right. It's fun. And I think I said it on the last stream. My working theory, because for a long time I couldn't figure out why she picked Walz over Shapiro, Bashir, Newsom, any other Democrat who might have helped her, especially Shapiro, because he would have helped her maybe win Pennsylvania. And I think it's now because her team knew about the fraud and wanted it on that money. I can't prove it. It's purely speculative, but that's my working theory as to why they picked Walz.
so
And then
I
Kamala
found-
manages to ring up a $1.5 billion election bill. Huh.
So I found this, and it ties back to, it's another angle of the Lemon arrest. This was one of the instigators, and she had a very interesting thing to say about her time being under arrest.
We had belly chains around our waist, and we had handcuffs with bars in the middle. As someone who majored in African American studies, I can tell you that is the closest I ever felt to slavery in my life.
She said, "What now?"
Yeah, it's amazing.
Incredible. I wrote about that.
No, go ahead, Amy.
No, I wrote about that today for Town Hall, and the White House had sent out that doctored image of her crying, but I found the actual photo of her hands are behind her back. There is no chain. I can't say whether or not there's a handcuffs with bars on them. I have never seen law enforcement arrest somebody like that with handcuffs with bars between them. That's usually when you're being transported to court, you're in court, those kind of things is when I've seen it, and I could be completely wrong. I, first of all, call complete BS on that whole thing because I've seen the pictures of her arrest. Second, she makes a very interesting admission. I think everybody hopefully caught that. Getting arrested for committing a crime is the closest to slavery she's ever been in this country. Okay, there goes every single argument for systemic racism, reparations, all of that. She just nuked all of that from orbit. If that's the closest she's come to being to slavery for something she did that broke the law, that discussion is now over and done. Case closed.
What I like about that turn of phrase, though, when she's the way she says it, though, this is the closest I've come. And it's like, well, keep trying, you'll get there. I mean, do you want to achieve this? I mean, it sounds like you're desperate for that.
And the other thing that it exposes,
what's your end game
she's
here?
treated like everybody else who's ever been arrested, no matter what color their paint job is. They all get handcuffed. If you get transported in a county vehicle, odds are you probably have belly chains on and ankle chains. Maybe the officer that arrested her did use hinge cuffs versus chain cuffs. Guess what? That's normal too. Plenty of officers use hinge cuffs versus chain cuffs. So none of that is at all. She was just trying to do what they always do, is play on the emotions and make herself the victims in a situation that you put yourself into and created, and then you get mad at it's FAFO coming out over and over again. Like the find out portion of it is absolutely crazy. And it really shows like how
yes, it is.
Some people
it is.
They are just above the law no matter what. It's bizarro.
Right.
It makes zero sense. The other thing, I want to go back to Minnesota for a second. I asked on my show, I had somebody on from Minnesota a couple weeks ago, and I said, why Minnesota for all of this? From the fraud, there was the eating scandal, the food scandal with kids, the mass migration, all the political weirdness that's going on. And she said, plain and simple, and she's been in politics in Minnesota for a long time, it's because the media there is so complicit and the Democrats have such a lockdown on the state house and the government there that they can do a lot of stuff without anybody looking around whatsoever. And when things do get talked about, they had a commissioner, I forget what she was in charge of, one of the state offices, get arrested with an open container on a DUI, or was in a DUI crash, roll over with another member of government. And it took 9 months for that to come out into the newspaper. And it
Incredible.
because the media there is entirely complicit with what goes on in that state house. So it's unbelievable to me to see a state be so jacked up. The trade-off to that is it is not at all unbelievable to me, because we've seen what happens in cities like Chicago.
Well, this is just one example, but if you look at the Minnesota Star Tribune, completely suck up newspaper for Walz and the administration. They came out with a piece a few weeks ago. Oh, the fraud scandal is only about 100 million or so, when billions of dollars have been exposed already. The publisher of that rag is a Walz acolyte. He comes right out of it, and he was put in that place by Walz. And as they're sitting there pimping labor and everything else in the state, about 2-3 months ago, the Star Tribune had to ship out the printing of the paper to Iowa because they can't afford to do it in Minnesota any longer because of the policies that very paper pushes.
Well,
that is the chef's kiss.
but it also is a amazing view of media in general in this country, and especially the legacy media aspect. Why they're not selling, why numbers are down dramatically, why the approval rating for media is, I think, lower than herpes. It's just been unbelievable, and this is what they do. This is exactly what they do: is they control the narrative, they spread the narrative. If they like a politician, or if that politician's part of whatever in crowd, they just suck up to them constantly. They repeat lies. I mean, you look at how much of the media came out today to defend Don Lemon instead of just saying nothing at all. It's incredible to me. Like, you're better off just saying nothing and being like, oh, geez, I don't really know the guy. I mean, I wasn't really following him after he fell from CNN. I don't know what he's up to these days. Give me a few days to look into it, and I'll get back to you. And the media cycle work that out.
Right.
So you don't have to, but they're not even smart enough to do it. So many of them are doubling down on it, and it's just mind.
It's just,
Right. Well,
all
they
of this is
have.
nuts to me.
It is. They have
All right, so
this. Oh, go ahead.
no, I was sorry. There seems to be some latency going on. I want to hit on one other quick thing because I just saw this. So it looks like effective immediately, China has officially been completely kicked out of the Panama Canal. So
Really?
Woohoo!
Yep.
All right.
This is from our friends over at Red State.
I'm 100% fine with that.
Looks like it was put out by Streff. Apparently, they may be being removed from some other deals involving Australia as well, but I'm still scanning through the article because it says they've been kicked off 2 continents.
Okay.
But yeah, so apparently Panama Supreme Court ruled the deals with Chinese leases as unconstitutional, and the Supreme Court of Panama has annulled a contract for a Hong Kong company to operate 2 ports at either end of the Panama Canal. And that all came out earlier today. So this was put out effectively at looks like 20 minutes ago my time.
Okay.
Tough shit there, China.
That is really good. I'm sorry. That's really good news. Yep.
This ties in a lot with what's going on with Venezuela, though, too, because I know press love to say it's all about us taking over their oil. It's like, well, no, actually, we're reclaiming the processing that they stole from us that was taking place. But the whole purpose of it is because they were shipping crude to all the violent nations that are against our interest, including China, who've been embedding themselves in this country. So it's just another step in that direction.
Well, and the door was open for China to put
Yes, it is.
around there, and that's what we wanted to avoid as well.
Well, so and this is specifically tying back to so many different things, because now, I mean, now for people that are paying attention, you may be really starting to understand why China is fighting so hard to keep people pissed off in Minneapolis, because if they can start turning half the country against the other half, then we start fighting each other and they can sweep in and make all the changes back to all the crap that we're slowly taking away from them. Because remember, China was heavy in Venezuela too. Now they've been kicked out of Panama. Now apparently they may or may not be being forced to get rid of some deals they had going with Australia. So I mean, and China's already hurting. So that would explain part of the reason why they're trying so hard to foment a bunch of stuff. And we got half the country now calling us Nazis, not realizing that it's the communists paying all these people to call us Nazis. So you probably should pay attention to where you're getting that from.
It is nice to see the world starting to slowly wake up to the fact that China is not our friends or anybody's friends. The CCP has not been anyone's friend for a long time. Everything they do is in their own interest. And when they can't sell something, they steal the rights from, or they steal the intellectual property from others, recreate it and sell it cheaper, undercutting them completely. China is still absolutely a communist nation. They've kind of gone a little bit more over to the Fabianism side as far as the economy side of things and how they're producing over there, but they're still communists at heart, and they are still not a good country. And sorry, in the chat room said China is definitely not hurting. China's economy is completely inflated outside to the outside people. China's economy is not good, and there are numerous economists that agree on that, just like their military is not good. And there are numerous military experts that agree on that. They're a giant paper tiger. And because there's no outside oversight, because it's a communist nation, that there aren't regular reports coming out with how actual bad the Chinese communism economy is.
Well, you ready for a great segue here, Rick?
What you got? What you got?
Because I got to get out of here, so I was going to give you my baby of the week. But speaking of China, over at Town Hall, I did a couple of pieces about the results of the Davos meeting this last week, I should say. And the second half of that is how China went out there and just said all of the right things from an ecological standpoint. We all must join together for the climate, and we all need to just be teammates on this. And Davos was just like, yes. What China was saying is rely on us to give you all of the things you want, like wind farms, lithium batteries, and everything else, as they strip mine Asia for lithium. And they've been ramping up their coal production like freaking mad dogs. It's 3 times as big as it was 10 years ago. They bring coal plants on a regular basis.
Daily.
In defiance of the very policies that these idiots want. So in order for them to create all of the components for the wind farms, coal plants. How about that? And then there's like, yeah, but they said nice stuff. They said green words, and it's like
OJ was funny in The Naked Gun. What's your point?
All right. So now that Brad's given us his top story of the week, Amy, what you got for us?
Oh boy, my top story of the week. I'm gonna have to go with. Oh boy, wasn't expecting me to second on this one. Let me come back to me on that one. Let me think about that one for a second.
All right,
Hop
John,
somebody else, because I've got a couple that I need to narrow down.
My baby story of the week, the one that I wrote, is the op-ed today in SHR Media about the Constitution stops at the church door and why the First Amendment doesn't shield Don Lemon. And if you go into it and you read it, I break down all that. There's a whole bunch of case law for it. I broke down the founders a little bit. I link to all the sources so people can actually I know they don't read. I keep having to have that argument with myself that when I'm like, no, here's a source. Here's an actual source document you can read. Here's some case law you can read. Nobody clicks on it. It's too long. Didn't read. I don't want to hear that. Give me emotional outrage, but it's all in there.
All right. As far as for me, because I'll come back to Amy in a second. Again, haven't been able to carve out much writing time, but that's part of the reason why I'm changing my schedule around. So for me, my top story is the fact that Gene and I called this whole Don Lemon and the protest mob thing winding up everybody facing charges over a week ago, and everybody told us we were crazy. So that's my win for the week.
They were right about the crazy, but they were wrong about you getting this one accurately correct.
Yeah, well, I mean, I never claimed to be sane.
Two things can be true at the same time.
I never claimed to be sane. I mean, I'm friends with you.
Yes, they can be.
That should prove already that I have a certificate that says I'm sane with the N marked out by crayon. But anyway, so Amy, what have you got for us now that you've had a moment to think?
All right, I've got mine. It's 2, but they're the same vein in Florida.
Okay.
In the last week, we saw 2 nurses and Eric Martindale attack members of the Trump administration and or conservatives. Lexi Lawler was a labor and delivery nurse who said she hoped Carolyn Levitt has a 4th degree tear. I won't go into details because it's all guys on the panel. Google it and figure out what that is. It's not fun. And
I've
Eric
had-
Martindale was a certified nurse. And
I was gonna say I've had
Go ahead.
I've had children. I'm aware. Ugh.
yes, okay. So if you know somebody, and Eric Martindale was a certified registered nurse anesthetist. He said he wasn't going to give anesthesia to patients, MAGA patients, during surgical procedures. Both of them have now lost their license in the state of Florida. It looks like Martindale surrendered his and moved to Indiana before the state could take it away, but the state took away Lexi Lawler's because of what she said. And that is exactly what needed to happen, because as someone who has a nursing license, who leftists try to get taken away because I disagree with the COVID vaccine, you don't do this. This stuff needs to end. Healthcare professionals cannot go on social media and say they're going to hurt patients, harm patients because of their political views. There is no ethical or any sort of exemption in any law that says you can do this. You can't deny patients care because of their political views. And the only way it stops is if they start losing their jobs. So good for Florida for drawing the line in the sand, and hope other states follow suit as well.
I guess they missed.
Yeah, we don't play down here. They
Yeah, and you
addressed
shouldn't, and
that
you
kind of
shouldn't.
stuff. And we just made the announcement. DeSantis came out and said, going forward, all voting ballots are going to be in English strictly, and they're pulling anything that has other languages on it.
Good.
Outstanding.
Good. I love Ron DeSantis. I'm
All
so
right.
sad that he can't be governor again. But
Yeah.
good. Florida doesn't play around,
then
and I'm
again-
proud of it.
As am I.
All right, Brad. Where can folks find you? Because I know you got other work to do, and so do I.
I am available daily over at townhall.com with my media column, Rift from the headlines. You'll see me on the left side. Click on it and just savor the media meltdown. And also on the front page of Red State on the regular, I got my podcast there called Liable Sources, going deeper into the press. And you can hear me here at KLRN Thursday nights, Tuesday nights, going on a variety of topics. And then over at Jitter, I am at Martini Shark.
And Sean, where can folks find you, sir?
Follow me on X, the number 2 against tyranny, and then you can shrmedia.com. You can find where I write. I'm also on SHR Media's YouTube with my shows, which simulcast on KLRN. Thank you. And I also write over at the Loftus Party.
Look at you multitasking and stuff. Amy,
Trying not
where can
to.
folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Ranty Amy Curtis, also on Town Hall, where I write a lot of stuff. So check it out there. And then you can go to Amazon and order my book, Gaslight. Just search Amy Curtis and Gaslight, and you'll find my book there on Amazon.
All right. As far as for me, you can find me at RiderRick73. You can find everything we do here at KLR Radio on X, Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. You can find me as a contributor on Twitchy.com, MisfitsPolitics.com, TheLoftusParty.com, and I also produce the Loftus Party podcast, which drops on Tuesdays, as well as about 80% of the content around here. As far as for today, my final show will be tonight. He said, she said, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. I am off tomorrow, back Sunday night with Kingdom and Country, followed by America Off the Rails on Monday night. For everything else, please feel free to check our schedule. Want to thank everybody for hanging out with us today. And for all you trolls that have been driving up our numbers, you think we don't like you, but we just like the fact that you hang out with us, even if you're being dumb the entire time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.